on this Sunday night, Crossing the Line. The new campaign uproar. Ben Carson questions whether a Muslim should ever be president. Tonight, Trump and now Carson caught up in controversy over politics and religion. The dramatic rescue after a yacht catches fire and 4 people are plucked from the water by Good Samaritans. Historic visit. The Pope in Cuba celebrating Mass for hundreds of thousands. Then a one-on-one with Fidel Castro. Security threat. Why hackers are now targeting university computers and what's being done to stop them. And bestseller, remembering Jackie Collins, who seduced millions of readers with her tales of power and lust. Nightly News begins now.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News. Reporting tonight, Tamron Hall.
Good evening. We begin tonight with yet another controversial comment from a GOP candidate for president. And this time it's not Donald Trump. Dr. Ben Carson is now under fire for comments he made today to our own Chuck Todd on Meet the Press. Carson saying he does not believe a Muslim should be president. His remarks now another distraction for the Republican Party. NBC's Hallie Jackson joins us with more.
Good evening, Tamron. Ben Carson's campaign tells me he probably will reach out to members of the Muslim community, as tonight there's new fallout from those comments, with one group calling on Carson to drop out of this race altogether. From a typically soft-spoken candidate, a response making lots of noise today after Ben Carson was asked on Meet the Press whether a president's faith should matter to voters.
If it fits within the realm of America and consistent with the Constitution, no problem.
So do you believe that Islam is consistent with the Constitution?
No, I don't. I do not. I would not advocate that we put a Muslim in charge of this nation. I absolutely would not agree with that.
The comments seizing the spotlight in the Republican race.
The Constitution provides that there shall be no religious test for public office, and I'm a constitutionalist.
Article 6 states no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office. That clause cited by Muslim American advocates who are now calling on Carson to withdraw from the race.
It shouldn't be just American Muslims who are calling for Mr. Carson to withdraw or at least to repudiate these kinds of un-American comments. It should be our nation's political and religious leaders from all parts of the political spectrum.
Carson's campaign today clarifying his remarks, saying while Carson has great respect for the Muslim community and believes a Muslim should be allowed to run, he just doesn't believe the American people are ready for that. Just last week, Donald Trump didn't denounce a questioner who called Muslims a problem in the U.S. Today, elaborating.
I have friends that are Muslims. They're great people, amazing people. But we certainly do have a problem. I mean, you have a problem throughout the world.
What's the problem?
Well, you have radicals that are doing things. I mean, it wasn't people from Sweden that blew up the World Trade Center, Jake.
Trump, still the GOP frontrunner after last week's debate, according to an NBC Online survey, but he didn't pick up much support. Carly Fiorina did, emerging as the clear winner. And in a different poll, taken before he made his controversial remarks today, Ben Carson dropped 5 points. These, now the top-tier standings, the rest of the field barely registering. Some Republican candidates, when asked about a potential Muslim American president, pointed out it would ultimately be up to the voters to make that decision. And according to a poll out this summer, 60% of Americans say they would back a Muslim candidate. There's less support among Republicans, 45%. Tamron?
All right, Hallie, thank you very much. Well, in Arizona, we are learning more about the evidence police say led them to a suspect in custody tonight, charged with some of the highway shootings in the Phoenix area. This as the man's family says the wrong person is behind bars. We get the latest tonight from NBC's Gotti Schwartz.
4 counts of intentional acts of terrorism.
Shaking his head as the charges were listed.
4 counts of criminal damage, class 5 felonies. 4 counts of endangerment, class 6 felonies.
Police say the suspect, Leslie Allen Merritt Jr., a 21-year-old landscaper, terrorized drivers along I-10. He was arrested Friday night at this Walmart.
All I have to say is that I'm the wrong guy. I tried telling the detectives that. My gun's been in the pawn shop for the last 2 months. I haven't even had access to a weapon.
His bond set at $1 million.
I could never afford that bond though. And I got 2 kids.
Police say Merritt's gun was linked to the first 4 of the highway shootings. And according to a court document, the gun was not in pawn status during the time of the shootings.
The crime lab test fired the firearm pawned by what we believe to be Mr. Merritt. The test fired bullets were matched to bullet fragments from 4 casings over the last weekend in August.
Investigators say Merritt sold the gun to this Arizona pawn shop. Today, the pawn manager didn't want to go on camera, but said they assisted with the investigation. Merritt was no stranger to guns. He even posted this video of him shooting on Facebook. His father says Merritt is innocent.
My son would honestly, literally, take the shirt off his back and give it to someone if he felt they were in need.
Meanwhile, another person of interest, Oscar Munoz, arrested last week on unrelated charges, has been released from jail. His charges dropped. The manhunt began 3 weeks ago. Robert McDonald narrowly missed being struck while driving his bus.
I want him to know that he almost took me away from my wife and my 2 kids.
But there are still 7 other incidents along I-10 that need to be solved, and the $50,000 reward for information and the warning for drivers will remain for now. This week, more details are expected to be released in this case, including when this gun may have been pawned. Investigators are also still looking into the possibility of copycat shooters. Tamron, back to you.
Gadi Schwartz, thank you very much for that report. A close call off the coast of Texas this weekend after a boat caught fire and 4 people found themselves in a very dangerous situation. Thankfully, there were others nearby who came to the rescue. NBC's Janet Shamlian has that story.
Crazy. Horrifying moments as cell phone video captures a boat engulfed in flames off the coast of Galveston.
A thick black smoke. The vessel was completely engulfed in flames by the time we arrived on scene.
College student Michael Marquez was captaining a charter boat nearby. Immediately, he cut the fishing lines and raced over to the burning vessel.
I was just praying to God. I was saying, please don't blow up, please don't blow up.
On board and among the flames, 4 people, including a child, unsure of what to do.
We were screaming, throw the kid, get him in the water, because that was my priority, was to get him safe and on my boat.
The 6-year-old in a life jacket picked up first. Then his mom was rescued. A second charter captain, Michael Lozoya, also sped to the burning boat and rescued the father.
And you take an oath as a captain that you're going to help somebody if their lives are in danger, so, take that pretty seriously.
The captain, rescued by a third boat, had a few bumps and bruises.
It's always a big deal to see someone with a fire on a boat, so I knew we had to get them off of there quick.
With the Coast Guard now on the scene, everyone was safe. What triggered the fire? Still unknown.
With kids aboard the vessel, I felt like that was my goal, was to get them to safety. Absolutely, I'd do it again without any hesitation.
Good Samaritans who, in a frightening life or death moment, raced toward danger instead of away. Janet Shamlian, NBC News, Houston.
From California tonight, an update on the battle against wildfires in that state. Officials say more than 10,000 firefighters are still battling 10 active wildfires. The so-called Valley Fire in Northern California is now half contained, but has consumed more than 75,000 acres and burned almost 900 homes. And the Butte Fire has now burned over 70,000 acres and 500 houses. It is now 70% contained. Those fires are among the most destructive in California's history. As the humanitarian crisis grows on in Europe, Secretary of State John Kerry said today the U.S. will take in more refugees than previously announced, 85,000 next year and 100,000 in 2017. Activists have urged the country to accept even more. Meanwhile, the struggle by thousands of migrants and refugees trying to make it to Western Europe continued today along the border between Hungary and Croatia. NBC's Bill Neely is there.
This is what desperation looks like. Trapped for days, migrants storm a train. They've little idea where it's going, but they want to escape to Germany. Thousands of them. Police try to hold them back. There's chaos as a man tries to drag his child on board and fails. Left behind, wives, children. To keep order, Croatian police had separated most men from their families.
The biggest problem that we have here is that families are just being split apart.
The police simply can't cope. So many refugees are sick. This little girl from Syria has a fever, but thankfully a father too. There are just so many, more than 20,000 migrants passing through this one railroad stop alone. The police are here to make sure the migrants get out. They're not wanted here or in any of the neighbouring nations, and they're now in a race to reach any friendly country before the doors close.
I want to continue my study in Germany.
Most are young men, but so many are children, living outside in plunging temperatures.
Unfortunately, we sleep here on the ground without anything. It was very cold. Suddenly the weather has turned to cold and raining.
How old is the baby? Serenoy, her name means flower, was born a refugee on the road 3 weeks ago. No home and no country to call her own yet. On Croatia's border with Hungary, troops have moved in. The Hungarians toughening their hard line, building more fences to keep migrants out. But still they come, every day finding new escape routes, tonight, like every night, ready for the next train to a new life. Some, of course, never make it this far. 2 boatloads of migrants overturned off Greece today. Many are missing, many drowned, including 4 children. Europe's leaders are bitterly divided over how to solve this. They've failed so far. They will, however, have another emergency summit to try to solve this, but not until Wednesday. Tamara?
All right, Bill Neely, thank you very much. 2 Americans are free tonight after being held for nearly 6 months in Yemen. 45-year-old Scott Darden from Louisiana and 54-year-old Sam Farhan from Michigan arrived in Oman tonight after that country helped secure their release by rebels fighting Yemen's government. A 3rd American is still being held. In Cuba today, hundreds of thousands of people came to see and hear Pope Francis on the 2nd day of his historic visit to that country. And the Pope came face to face today with Fidel Castro, who suppressed religion for decades under the Communist Revolution. NBC's Ann Thompson has our report tonight from Havana.
Past the icons of the communist takeover, Pope Francis rolled into Havana's Revolution Square to celebrate Sunday Mass. A living symbol of inspiration for many of the Cuban people.
What is driving that enthusiasm?
I guess the hope. The hope. We have a lot of hope on him.
And why do you have hope? What makes you hopeful?
It's not only what he's saying, but what he's doing.
Dora Lopez says she's impressed by the Pope's efforts to improve relations between Cuba and the U.S.
They are trying to help to lift the embargo that has been affecting the Cuban economy for so many years.
In 90-degree heat and 91% humidity, 300,000 listened to Francis encourage them to serve others. The Mass was not without incident. 3 protesters rushed the Pope-mobile. They were taken into custody, their leaflets tossed into the sky, and 1 man thrown to the ground. It is not clear what they were protesting. The relative freedom of the church in this once atheist country has been hard-won. Mass is now celebrated openly, and the church is filling the holes in Cuba's frayed social safety net with programs like this for children with mental and physical challenges. The approach of encounter instead of confrontation embodied by Francis is criticized by some. Miriam Leyva, a Cuban dissident and human rights activist, calls it wise.
That's the way to be able to exchange views, to get close to the people, to interact and to influence. Influence on the people, but influence on the government.
Today, this pastoral visit had its political moments. Meeting President Raul Castro, and a half-hour private meeting with his brother, former Cuban leader Fidel Castro. More evidence of how Francis' appeal seems to transcend the church.
The Pope of the people, not only Catholic, but of the entire world.
Now tomorrow, Pope Francis leaves Havana and heads to rural Cuba and one of this country's holiest sites. Then he turns his sights to the United States. Tamron?
All right, Ann, thank you very much. When Nightly News continues on this Sunday, the threat of cyber attacks has America's college campuses beefing up computer security. With college students back on campus, some are finding it now takes a greater effort to log onto their school computer networks. That's because universities are looking for ways to prevent hackers from gaining access to vital information. More from our Justice correspondent, Pete Williams.
At Penn State University, security is tighter this fall, not on the streets or in the dorms, but inside the school's vast computer network tying together its 24 campuses. It's a response to a hacking attack on computers at the engineering school that lasted undetected for more than 2 years. University officials say the breach exposed student IDs and passwords and, potentially, information on advanced research for the Department of Defense and other clients.
We have a lot of really smart people here doing state-of-the-art research. They are making discoveries that have the potential to be transformational. They also have the potential to have great commercial value.
The school says the hack attack originated from China, but couldn't say whether it was state-sponsored. Penn State is by no means alone. The nation's college campuses, especially those doing advanced research, are tempting targets for cyber attackers looking for valuable ideas to steal. How often does this happen? Ask a leading cyber detective.
From 2006 to 2013, 550 universities have reported some type of data breach.
Michael Oppenheim of computer security firm FireEye says hackers in China, beyond seeking the latest research, might also be looking for people to spy on.
It could be used for traditional espionage reasons, human intelligence collection. They might want to try and collect information on students of that university or possibly faculty or the professors of that university.
Other recent targets, the universities of Virginia and Connecticut, now among schools spending more to beef up their cyber defenses. At Rutgers in New Jersey, school officials say they'll spend up to $3 million on computer security, one reason for bumping up tuition. Back at Penn State, students now face a more secure process for logging in to the computer system using 2 forms of ID, as universities struggle to keep information open to young minds but not to prying eyes. Pete Williams, NBC News, State College, Pennsylvania.
And when we come back, she pulled the curtain back on the lives of the rich and famous and gained millions of fans in the process. Her novels were all about glamour and scandal, selling hundreds of millions of copies. This was the world of Jackie Collins, the best-selling author who died this weekend. Here's NBC's Ron Allen.
Jackie Collins was a prolific writer, celebrity, and Hollywood insider who claimed her books told the real truth about the lives of the rich and famous and infamous.
The glamorous, the sexy, the super rich. They're wilder than you can imagine.
Steamy, scandalous stories, married lovers, lovers and players, confessions of a wild child, 32 bestsellers, 500 million copies in 40 countries. And Hollywood loved it all, turning her work into movies and miniseries like Hollywood Wives.
How can he do that at someone else's award dinner?
Collins was born in Great Britain, started writing at age 12, stories so provocative she got kicked out of school, and sent to America to live with her older sister, actress Joan Collins of Dynasty fame. "Farewell to my beautiful, brave sister," she tweeted. "I will love you and miss you forever." Collins was 77 and died of breast cancer, a 6-year battle she kept secret, while writing 5 books and staying in the spotlight on British TV just last week.
I think women should have very interesting lives and do everything they want to do before they get married.
In what's said to be her final interview with People magazine, Collins said she had no regrets and wanted to be remembered for giving a great deal of people a great deal of pleasure. Ron Allen, NBC News, New York.
And up next, the good dogs making life a lot easier for farmers who could use a hand. Finally tonight, farming is tough work, and it can be even more challenging for those with disabilities. But now, some of these farmers are getting a helping hand from some remarkable working dogs. Here's NBC's Kristen Dahlgren.
It's sunrise over the pastures of Maysville, Missouri. But to Alda Owen, it looks more like this. She's legally blind, which can make being a farmer pretty tough.
Say there's a dip in the pasture where it's just dirt. Well, sometimes I think that's a cow laying down, and it's not.
Owen lost her eyesight when she was just 10.
I was a girl that stood in the closet. I hid my disability.
In her 50s, she got breast cancer and worried she wouldn't be able to help her husband at all around the farm.
He's always been my caregiver, and I wanted to be a partner. I didn't want to be a disabled handicap.
That's when Owen met her new best friend, a border collie named Sweet Baby Joe, given to her by Farm Dog USA, an organization that matches disabled farmers with dogs.
And we call the dogs four-legged farm hands.
Jackie Allenbrand started Farm Dog when she realized just how much dogs could help.
Retrieving buckets, retrieving tools, helping with mobility.
So far, Farm Dogs has helped a dozen farmers in Missouri, Nebraska, Kansas, and Iowa, including a paraplegic and another with a traumatic brain injury. On the Owens farm, Joe herds the cattle, giving Alda's husband, Rick, peace of mind.
It protects her, and I worry about her safety. I worry a lot less now than I did.
Good girl.
For Alda, Joe means even more.
She's just made me open up and say, you'll be all right. You can do anything you want to do. Don't let your disability hold you back.
A farmer, able to continue doing what she loves and finding a new love in the process. Kristen Dahlgren, NBC News, Maysville, Missouri.
That's NBC Nightly News for this Sunday. Lester Holt will be here tomorrow night. I'm Tamron Hall. For all of us here at NBC News, thank you for watching. Good night.